Are you seeing how bad my tan line is?
Your webcam is not that great, but I can still see it. So that's a little bit concerning, man.
That was
That's
the Pope line.
dude. You're lucky it's about to get cold here because if it wasn't about to be like hat and beanie season, people would be like, "Why do you have a tan line on like the upper quarter of your forehead? It's not even like halfway down, where it's like a normal hat. No, that's right at the hairline, man. That sucks."
That's the pure Pope line. So
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide
Loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my co-host, Ian Labatch. Mason Kling, he cannot make it to the podcast this week. He was actually named Pitt's starting quarterback earlier this week. And hold on. No, I'm sorry. That was Mason Heintschel. Either way, how we doing, Ian?
well, we're in a lot better spot than we were what we recorded 4 or 5 days ago at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I think we have a different outlook on the season after this. So, how are you doing tonight, Zach?
You can tell that we're in a much better place because we're recording this. So let pull the curtain back. We're recording this on Sunday, and we usually record it on Wednesdays. And we are in such a good mood because of not only the game that we watched at noon, but one that happened at 3:30. We're going to talk about. And I was like, "Fuck it, we got to fire up these mics on Sunday. I got to talk about all this shit. I don't want to forget about any of this stuff." Yeah, fuck it. Let's get right into it, man. Pitt beats Boston College at home, 48-7 to snap a 2-game losing streak and pick up their first win in conference play. And you've probably already heard by now, and something we were proven very wrong about in our preview episode from last week. True freshman Mason Heintschel gets the start, and you could not ask for a better start from number 6.
No, I mean, listen, I'm going to be transparent. I talked to Mason's dad before the game. He was talking about how confident Mason is. I mean, he's been going in the office, the offense. He got to run with the first team this week. He's been going in 6 hours early, I guess, on his off day. I mean, like he's ready, and I mean, it clearly showed yesterday, that he was ready for the job to become the starter. And I mean, look at that Cade Bell offense. Like we were all out on him last week. We were looking to calculate his buyout. But I think we're back in on Cade Bell. At least I am.
It seems that after this week, and you can say, well, it was just Boston College. They are what is clearly looking to be like a bottom of the barrel ACC team. They had a lot of guys out. They were playing teams close before. This is their first real blowout loss of the year. But it seems that it was kind of a quarterback issue. It really was. I mean, the offense looked like it was working. They were. And this is I don't know why they were doing this at the all-in, but they were calling a good mix of run and pass plays. They had a $172 on the ground. Jules Goff and Jakarian Turner really made the most of their about 30 carries there. But I mean, it was just Mason above all else was executing the offense. He was hitting the throws that Eli wasn't the last 2 weeks, and those are in the short to intermediate ranges. They weren't moving backwards; they were always moving it forwards, and most importantly, they were excellent on third down. I'm trying to pull up the actual numbers here. Yeah, they were 9 for 17 on third down after going nearly 0 for the week before against Louisville. Like, it's just what this offense is supposed to look like. And I think we're on the same page here. It looks like it was just a quarterback issue.
Yeah, I think what they were also 3 of 3 on fourth down, also
Mm.
completing a first and 35, which like really sucks because before the precursor to that first and 35 was one of the best balls I've seen of all like that I've seen a Pitt quarterback make in a while. Like it got negated by that holding penalty, but he hit Blue Hicks like right in the end zone, perfect. Um, right, I think that was Blue Hicks, right?
It was Blue Hicks, yeah.
Um, but also the last thing that impressed me, and we've talked about it a lot recently, but we were always afraid that Cade Bell's offense was brutal for time of possession, but Pitt won the time of possession 39 minutes to 21 minutes this week. So maybe it was just Eli not converting on third downs was causing his offense to be so bad time of possession wise.
I think it really was that, man. When you're going like 1-0 for 8 on third downs, like you're not going to hold on to the ball at all. The pass game was working. It let the run game kind of open up with, like I said, with Turner and with Goff. I thought they looked really nice today. Both of them scored a touchdown. Speaking of Hicks, I mean, this was just like a great day to be a skilled player on this offense because Hicks had basically 2 touchdowns taken off the board, one from that holding penalty, and then another one where he just got blatant DPI. That DB made a 7-point penalty right there. You talk about like first, man. It was obviously Mason's first start where he goes 30 of 41 for 323 and 4 touchdowns, no picks. Had a couple of like stinky throws, but they didn't end up coming back to bite him. He's a true freshman's first start. I'll take that. Kyron Turner, 12 carries, 67 yards, first Pitt touchdown. Kenny Johnson finally had a breakout game, right? 9 catches, a $115 and a touchdown.
Those were all in the first half too.
That was all in the first. No, yeah.
I think because he set his career high in catches at 9 in the first half, and you said he finished with 9.
That's what ESPN is saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he got that. That was on the first half.
Okay, got it. And then also, you have Zion Fowler and Deuce Spann scoring their first touchdowns. Zion Fowler, first of his career. Deuce Spann, first in the Pitt Panther uniform. Like, there's not enough kind things I can say about this offense with Mason leading it. And really, I was just impressed by the fact that, I mean, the O-line kept playing well. He was decisive from the pocket. He wasn't really like taking a bunch of like too long with his throws, taking bad sacks. He was really always finding the guy that's, as you've been saying, Cade Bell's been scheming guys open this year. And it's taken going to Mason to find those guys. He hit some deep balls. He had that really pretty one to Kenny Johnson that ended up not being caught or also, would have been called back by a holding penalty. I mean, I'm kind of all the way back in. The defense looked great. Shout out to Kyle Lewis for that awesome fumble recovery. Jimmy Scott had a fumble recovery. Then also Shad Harrison had his first pick of his career. Like, it was a really good day. It was the bounce back game that this team needed, coming off of 2 pretty brutal losses.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've kind of completely changed my tune on, like, not necessarily, like, the outlook of the season. I mean, like, there's still 2 losses hurt. But, like, I was thinking, like, if Eli – like, I was having nightmares thinking about Eli and, down in Tallahassee. But, I mean, I am really glad that they decided to make the swap now. Because, like, Eli probably could have stumbled into a win there. And then you're sending Eli to Tallahassee against a ranked Florida State team who didn't look – they made a late push last night, but they really weren't. The final score looks closer than it was.
Yeah.
Cassiano was playing bonehead ball.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that Florida State game more in detail because that's what I want to go over. But, like, I agree with you. Like, this was the time that if it was any time, it had to either be to, like, this game or they probably would have had to do it after Florida State, right? And at that point, you're probably looking at –
you're looking down the barrel of – like a 500 season, yeah.
You're looking at barrel 3-3 most likely with that, right? Because, like you said, Boston College is not very good. It gives me, I'm not trying to like overreact, right? Because it is Boston College. The only thing that makes me feel like this might have turned a corner is the fact that, and I don't mean to dump on the kid. I really do have I wish the best for Eli, but the fact that he came in garbage time against BC, up 48-0, and still went 3 and out. It just convinces me that it was a him problem, and I don't know how else to put it. Like he wasn't making the offense work, and unfortunately, the true freshman did. Like, apologies to Cade Bell, man. You had some they had some pretty fucking sick play calls, like that touchdown to Kenny Johnson where
That
he
play,
fakes
I was
going.
going to bring it up. Oh my God. It was awesome to see that. That route was insane. Like, you give Kenny Johnson, like, look like he's crack blocking, and then he opens up, and there's so much green grass in front of him.
Well,
I mean,
also with that too, like that was built off the fact they were running the ball well, right? You know, that's a play action fake where Kenny Johnson, like you said, he's motioning inside, look, he's trying to block someone for this like second and 1, 3rd and 1 run. He whips it back out and is untouched to the end zone. Like he, I think we've been saying this all year, right? He's been scheming guys open, and we were saying, hey, like it's up to him to also make the offense execute. And he went ahead and made him execute. Like it really is a quarterback change, man. And Doc, this was a fun one. This was really, really a fun one. Like this is we were talking about this a bit pre-show. Because one thing that Mason showed is that he's certainly slower than Eli. Even the broadcast said it. Like they said he runs like Haynes King, which means you run straight upright, a little bit slow, but you get where you need to, right? And that's, Mason is not going to be as much of like a dual threat as Eli has. He can scramble when he needs to. He showed you that on that awesome touchdown to Deuce Spann where he pocket collapses, he rolls out right by the line of scrimmage, like veteran move, throws it to a wide open receiver in the end zone. Like we were saying, like go back and watch Mason's high school like tape. And I mean this with all the love in the world. He was playing behind an offensive line that was actively trying to get him murdered every week. And that's where he learned to play in a bad pocket. And he has so much poise in the pocket because he was an excellent quarterback on a team with a terrible O-line. He brings the school, which I think hadn't been a contender for like a state title in Ohio for decades. And he's that good. He shows up and is like, okay, yeah, like I think they might have found a diamond in the rough with this guy, man. There were rumors that Michigan was trying to poach him when they weren't getting Bryce Underwood last minute, and yeah, I can see why.
yeah. So talking to Mason's dad too, I want to like preface this for Pitt fans. Like, Michigan came in late. They said they were bringing in 2 quarterbacks either way. So to be able to have like a guy who like lives and breathes Pitt, I think is huge. And like, I wanted to bring this up as well because I don't know if we really documented this a ton, but supposedly Eli was in the bag as like our transfer quarterback at the Pitt Syracuse game in 23, which if you guys remember that, I don't think anything good came from that game besides their tight end rushing for 140 yards. So to get Eli to come after that game is insane. But also like that really wasn't Cade Bell's quarterback from like everything that I've been hearing. And I
No.
think when you talk to Mason, he's like one of his biggest things was coming and playing in this offense and his relationship with Cade Bell. So I think we're really starting to see that Mason was always built for this offense.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever like touched on that, but yeah, just to preface what Ian said, right? The rumor has always been that I don't know how or why, but Eli's parents were in town in New York City for that Pitt Syracuse game. There was some sort of like backroom deal where like Eli was going to jump from Bama to Pitt at the end of that year when the transfer portal window opened. Obviously, that happened. I think that Eli is like he's a talented quarterback. He's just not a smart quarterback, and that's ultimately what did him in. Honestly, he had those flashes of talent, right? He had the fucking awesome comebacks against Cincinnati and West Virginia. He had like good performances against UNC, but like really, that's all you can really hang your hat on. He was very talented, but he did not ever use it correctly outside of basically 2 games. So this move, I think, is probably for the best. And if I'm gonna be honest, like you're probably not gonna see Eli ever take meaningful snaps for Pitt again. Like let's be honest with ourselves, right? Mason is gonna be he's gonna be the presumed starter moving forward. You've got 2 quarterbacks coming in this year's recruiting class as it stands right now. You've got Renda and who's the other one? I don't have his name in the bag.
I'll pull it up.
While you pull that up, right? Gonzalez obviously going to be gone after this year, but then you're probably going to bring in like a veteran, backup safety option. So, listen, Eli, you gave us some great moments, but it's over, and that's okay. And it's Six's time now. And I was joking that hey, you've got the mental health of an entire city on your shoulders for this start, and man, he delivered, man. He had Pitt had basically a 40% success rate in this game, right? He was adding zero point 0.4 expected plays per drop back, which is like 85th percentile. He had 7 yards per drop back. Like the passing offense was fantastic today. It's the best we've seen it. Honestly, this is the best we've seen the entire offense against FBS opponent, especially when we go back to time possession and how they controlled the game from start to finish. They started this game with a 11 play, 76 yard, 5-minute drive. You look at their drives, they were all like almost 10 plays, 11 play touchdown drive, 9 play touchdown drive, 12 play touchdown drive, 10 play touchdown drive. Like all of them, they aren't the longest drive in the world. They're never going to do that. But it did seem that like Cade Bell was actually paying attention to time possession. Like, I don't know. This is the game I needed to buy back in on this entire staff.
Yeah, I think that was like the time possession thing is big for me because like we talked about it last week, like Biles playing 104 9 plays or whatever. Like you needed to give your offense a break, or you need to give your defense a break, especially like with both your edges down this week and Crothers and was it Jaden Moore was the other one out?
Moore's still out. It was Spires was out. It's like a game time decision.
More Spires and Crothers being out. You're like, oh, meaningful Nate Matlack snaps.
Temple. You're getting your names mixed up.
I forgot that. Nate Temple. Nate Matlack had the Chiefs tryout, but I don't think he ever made the roster there. So
don't think so.
But yeah, I mean, there's not a ton that I want to talk. Like, I don't have a ton more. I mean, they did what they had to do, and they did it well enough to get a bunch of people to buy in. But I was gonna ask you, because I saw it on Twitter a lot. Do you think this was a desperation move by Narduzzi to like save his job, or do you think they just finally realized that you have to play Mason?
1 second, I do want to say the quarterback's name, who I forgot, is Corey Daly. Sorry to Mr. Daly. Before we move on to what you said, right? You touched on the defensive line real quick, and I totally forgot about this. I really liked them starting Isaiah Neal at the end. I think they've been playing with it a little bit this year. He's a little bit of a lighter guy. He's got some wiggle to him. I think that might be because I think Moore might be out going forward. He's been out every week, right? And if Crothers is out for more time and if Spires out for more time, I like playing Neal at the end. Also, shout out to Biles who forced that fumble that Jimmy Scott recovered. Like, defense came to play today. It was like no complaints there. That was a vintage Pitt defense. Unfortunately, they did not get their first shutout in ACC play. They did let up a Chud touchdown at the very end. Billions must score. Okay, so question was this a desperation heave from Narduzzi? I'm going to say no. And there's a couple reasons why. So, one, if we're talking frankly, right? Narduzzi knows that he can't be fired because of his buyout for at least, I don't know, probably 2 seasons if I had to, put a number on it. So there's one thing. But 2, I think they were never going to start this season off with Mason because, Eli was like, they have invested a lot of NIL money into him. They were going to roll with him to start the season, even if they were confident that Mason could run this offense, right? I think it just came down to, Eli was not producing what this team was basically capable of. It was basically most of the losses in the last couple of weeks, right? You could put a significant amount of blame on Eli for them, right? If you just think about 2 plays that define both of those losses, it was 2 Eli Holstein picks in the red zone. So at a certain point, you've already benched him in the last game. You're like, okay, this isn't working. We have some confidence in Mason. I don't see it as a desperation move. It's just like, listen, we have confidence in this guy and the other guy's losing us games. This isn't really like a desperation. Even this is just a straight benching. Like, we don't think you're good enough to play because you keep costing this team the game in the most high leverage moments. Like, that's how I see it.
No, I think it's the same way. I think that a lot of people were like saying that Narduzzi needed to do this to save his job. But like, I think last week I talked about like not wanting to burn his red shirt, and like surely Mason looked like a guy who didn't need the red shirt last year, or like the end to do going to next year. I just think that people were like super super hot, and like I get like the fan base. We won our first Power 4 game in a whole calendar year. which like is a scary thought to think of, and people were really out on our doozy. But I think at some point, like you just got to realize like you got what you got, and you're just gonna have to like build the best you can within the system. So I mean, I think it's just like instead of like trying to create like the solution being firing him, I think we just have to be more creative in how we go about assembling the team.
Yeah, listen, man. I was one of those people who wanted the coach fired. I'll put my hand up. Probably should walk back some of those takes. I think that right. People were heated, like they were seeing it. I mean, like we're seeing the same shit every year. You know, we're seeing New Jersey teams collapse down the stretch. The offense sucks. Like no one's ever disciplined, right? I think people got heated over that, especially because you had two close losses. Your highly touted offense and your quarterback isn't working. So people are going to go like, we're sick of this. We're going to go with the head coach who's like, in charge of the entire operation. Now, I'm like I've said many times in the episode, like this, in my opinion, it came down to quarterback these last two games, man. Like changing quarterback pretty much saved everything. We've been saying for weeks how like the offense had been getting guys open, they weren't executing, and the guys are still getting open, just the balls are getting to them now. And yes, I do think that while it was a little short-sighted, I understand the anger of people wanting to fire the coach after the two losses. It was never going to happen. It was just, I think it was a lot of people just venting. A lot of people, even fans of the program, like don't like Pat Narduzzi because he's been kind of dicking around the last 4 years. That we can be honest about that. But they made a change where they needed to. They saw that something wasn't working and they just went to it. And even if you were apprehensive about the change prior to the game, like me, like you see what the kid's got. Like he's got it. If we're looking at it, he won you the game. And like I said, Eli in mop up time against like backups still went 3 and out. So you put the Boston College tax on it because they suck, but at the same time, it's like, well, he looked really fucking good. He did what he had to do against a bad team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a ton more on that. I mean, like, it sucks. Like Eli, I think like when he got benched against Louisville, it was very hard to go back to him.
Yes.
So, I felt like right in that moment, even if you were going to start him, like his confidence was completely killed after being benched in like a game tying drive there. Like it felt like they were waving the white flag. So
I think that second pick against Louisville, whether we knew it at the time or not, that was like the flare going up of like, yeah, this is over and we're moving on. And I think if we're going to be honest, right, even though we've said like we don't think they were ever going to start Mason right away because they invested a ton in Eli and like he was the centerpiece of the offense, right? He needed a week to get first team reps. He wasn't getting first team reps before this because Eli was a starter. And that's why they didn't go to him before this. I think that's the only thing I have to add, right?
yeah, I mean they weren't like Mason wasn't even QB. He was QB3, so like I'm not a huge guy. Like have gone to a couple pit practices, but I assume quarterback 3 is getting little to no first team reps. So to go to him in a game like that, like against Louisville, like he might have always been your quarterback 2, but you cannot put him in there. Like it was always going to be Cole and like those injury, like helmet knocked off play calls. Like Cole is always like the immediate guy to go in for that. And I think that continues forward. Like I don't think like if Mason gets his helmet knocked off or like Mason needs like a drive due to injury, I think you kind of got to go Cole instead of Eli because his confidence is probably completely shot.
Yeah. That's sorry, Cole instead of Mason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why they brought Cole in. They brought Cole in for like the hey, our quarterback just got rattled. We need you to like go on a couple plays. But yeah, like I said, they made the right call to switch. I think, in my opinion, we'll see if it pays off long term. Because we've got next week coming up. We'll do a little bit of a mashed up preview recap here because they've got Florida State on the road going to Tallahassee. Now, Florida State is coming off their second straight loss. You'll remember they lost on the road to Virginia, 46-38 on a Friday night. They lost last night to Miami at home, 28-22. Like Ian said at the top of the show, that was a bit closer than it really was. Like the score is a little bit closer than it really was. And now we're going to Tallahassee, noon on ESPN this Saturday. And the reason why I kind of wanted to start with the recap of the Florida State game here is that Florida State is a team that is playing extreme bozo ball is what I would have to put forward. I mean, the reason that Florida State did not win this game is because they shot themselves in the foot, similarly to how Pitt usually does. I think they had a fumble. I know that Castellanos threw a really nasty pick in this game, but this was so Miami had 2 picks and 2 fumbles recovered against Florida State, and that's how they got out of this game. They were down 28-3 at some point. They tried to claw back into it, had a couple of onside, actually 3 onside, none of them worked. Florida State is a weird team to me. I think this is I don't know. What's your thoughts on them coming out of this Miami game?
I mean, I think Florida State, they beat Bama, right? And you're almost playoff lock, or they're getting crazy. Florida State, best team in the ACC talk after Bama. I think Bama, you don't really know what they are. But I think Florida State, even though they all were on track to go into this game undefeated, I thought it was one that Pitt could get, because they shoot above their weight for 1 or 2 games. But after this, I think Pitt and Florida State are almost the same brand. It's I mean, who knows what we're gonna see from Mason long term, but Tommy and Eli are both kind of guys who are we're gonna just play bozo ball for a quarter, and we don't really play a complete game. And
Yeah.
I think if Pitt keeps it close, Florida State might shoot themselves in the foot enough to get up. So I think not as highly of them as I once did.
See, it's very strange because Florida State is a highly explosive offense. They are good for a ton of big plays. They had 13% of their plays against Miami were explosive plays, which I believe is categorized as a play above 20 yards. They have Tommy Castellanos is, as always, a very exciting athletic quarterback. Gavin Sawchuk is kind of a hit or miss running back, but Deuce Robinson is one of the best wide receivers in the country. Randy Pittman is still really good. They've got a lot of weapons here. It's just the fact that, 1, they shoot themselves in the foot too much, as they showed in this game, and 2, their defense is really, really prone to giving up the big play. And especially through the air. Carson Beck, who looked like he was off a perk, dead black eyes, 20 for 27, 232, and 4 touchdowns. Those huge touchdowns to CJ Daniels and Malachi Toney were just busts on the Florida State back end. And if we're talking about matchups there, that's one that I think Pitt can look into and say, hey, we might be able to exploit this, right? The strength of this Pitt team is in the receivers. It's in the passing game. It now has an accurate passer. A passer also with a deep ball, as we saw twice last week, even though neither of them counted. This is it's an interesting matchup for me. I think it really comes down to which team, whether that's Florida State or Pitt, is better at preventing the big explosive play, because both of these teams are both prone to giving them up and good at getting them.
Yeah, and I think what we're gonna see is Florida State didn't really establish the run against Miami. Castellanos was their leading rusher. 7 yards.
Before we go into that Miami D line is really
it's
good.
Insane.
That's
insane.
That's a flip side of that.
All I was gonna say was that so Pitt is giving up 1.4 yards per rush attempt this year, which is best in the ACC.
Insane. That's insane.
That's
is
over
that best
5
in the country?
Games. It might be best in the country. I just saw it on a list compared to the ACC, but I mean, I feel like that has to be up there, right?
I'm gonna look defense yards per game. Okay, so it doesn't have attempts on this, but Pitt is top 3 in total yards per game, giving up only 66.2 yards per game through 5, and is also third, only giving up 331 yards overall. And like you said, they're giving up less than 2 yards a carry. I forgot to mention that. That's a fucking insane stat. Holy shit. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot on the show. Sean Fitzsimmons seems to finally be getting his praise from a larger audience of Pitt fans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just having an unreal season. And I mean, you look at Pitt, we talked about Ghost playing on the end. which then will free up some snaps for a guy like Jasir Whittington, who had a sack yesterday, which is big for the bread man. But I mean, like this D line, I think is like always been the strength of like this front seven is awesome for Pitt. So I think like being able to get all those guys involved, even if they have to play a different position, can be very important. So I think like that kind of plays in for Pitt. Like I know Florida State tried to establish the run early, like not great, but they also lead the ACC in sacks. So like if they can get after Tommy and like make him do some bozo ball, I think we might be in a good spot.
Yeah. By the way, I was able to pull it up on the NCAA website. That 1.72 yards per rush stat for Pittsburgh defense this year is best in the country through 5 games by almost an entire half yard. The next closest is Texas Tech at 2.29, which actually that is an entire half yard, right? Yeah, that is. They're half yard better than anyone else in the country. That's pretty fucking good, man. And I agree with you on all that, right? Like the D line, I think, has opportunities to continue what they're doing. Hopefully, I think my concern is you gotta do something about Deuce Robinson. Deuce Robinson, number 0 for Florida State, is an excellent receiver. He's gonna get his targets and he's gonna have his catches. How can you limit that to just being, he has his catches and not breaking one or getting one really deep? Like he's the best player on Florida State's offense. You got to have a plan for number 0. They're not going to double him probably. They never do. So it'll be interesting to see how they counter him. I have no idea how they're going to do that. I mean, like Pitt doesn't travel their corners, so we'll see if they maybe do safety help over the top where Deuce is. And then, like I said, man, it's just trying to live with the same game plan from Boston College, right? Where you're not really going for those bombs every play. You're looking for down-to-down success, a good mix of run and pass, and really trying to control the clock with these 5-minute, 6-minute drives where you're giving your defense enough time to rest. So, like you said, man, these are, in a way, I think these are very similar teams. It opened as a 10-point spread. I think this is going to be a close game either way. I don't see this game really going into like a 10-point victory for either team. They're just too similar to me. They play the same style of ball. It's going to be probably I think like a 7-9 point game, swinging on whatever team makes a back-breaking issue with like a turnover or something.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing, right? Like our losses came down to boneheaded turnovers against Boston College. We didn't turn the ball over at all. You can see the long drives. Like if Pitt can mount some drives against Florida State, like just like establish an offense, which is what I saw last week. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, no other complaints from me. I think this is now that we have our hope, our fresh new shiny freshman quarterback, a brand new hope in Pittsburgh. The K-Bell offense is finally working after a year and a half. I think we can do it. I think that this is. You've got a chance to go at Florida State's ranked 25 right now, I believe. Yes, they're ranked 25. And hey, it's a chance at a ranked road upset. The books clearly don't believe in you, but I think there's a good shot they can do it. I'll say that much. Now, that's not the only game we want to talk about from last weekend. There's a big one. And I promise you, we will get to it. I do want to go over some important scores from the weekend, though. I mean, honestly, the early slate was not very exciting. It really was, it was the afternoon where everything heated up. I mean, the big result of the early slate was Iowa State being upset at Cincinnati 38-30. I don't know who's going to win the Big 12. Maybe it's undefeated BYU who beat West Virginia 38-24, but I don't trust a team that lets their quarterback wear 47. So I don't know who's going to win the Big 12. That one's an interesting conference to even think about, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Big 12 is just it's the same thing every year. Like every spread in a Big 12 conference game is plus or minus 3.5. Every team is going to go like 9-3, and you have no idea who's going to win the league.
It is a one bid league. That's what I'll say. Also, just want to shout this out because it's funny. Clemson beat North Carolina 38-10. Every single Bill Belichick loss is like it just gets better every single week. Every single week. Also, overtime in the ACC, Virginia beats Louisville on the road to move to 5-1, unbeaten in the conference. I don't know how good Virginia is. They got 2 touchdowns off of defensive scores in this game, and they barely squeaked out a win against Louisville. They're currently 5-1, undefeated in the ACC. I'm going to read you the remaining Virginia schedule. And so their schedule goes, they have a bye this week. They go Washington State at home, at North Carolina, at Cal, home against Wake Forest, at Duke, and then home for Virginia Tech.
I feel like there's like one maybe loss, but like I don't know. Like that schedule seems really easy.
It is certainly forgiving. I think Duke is probably the place they'll lose.
That's what
I don't think they beat Duke. Nobody's going to lose to North Carolina, so cross that one out. I think you can get a weird result against Cal or Virginia Tech, maybe, because the ACC always has this. Teams always lose, but Virginia is, well, I'll say, is in like a driver's seat position here to make the ACC title game, is what I'll say. That's crazy. There are too many teams in these conferences. We got to bring back divisions. There are too many good teams that don't play each other. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I also think like we're still a little too early before we break down this conference champions. But I mean, some are too early to start.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, it's just an interesting thing to point out. Let's just talk through the big ones here. Start off Vanderbilt, Alabama. I said Vanderbilt could win this game. Bama wins 30-14. They sat on Vanderbilt the second half. This is a talent game. Vanderbilt goes up 14-7. Then Bama remembers that, oh yeah, Vandy doesn't have a defense that can stop us, and they went on to win it. It was close for a half. Unfortunately, Diego Pavia did not get it done. The first funny result of the day, I'll say, to me, as a longtime Arch Manning hater, is number 9 Texas going to 1-3 Florida and losing 29-21. This one was awesome because Arch Manning is the dumbest quarterback we have ever been given in this beautiful sport. I've said this in other places, but the way Arch Manning plays football is like, imagine the most racist guy you know, whether that's a guy you know or maybe like an uncle or something. Back in 2016, when Lamar Jackson was coming to college, and they were like, he should just be a running back or something. That's what Arch Manning does. He just sits back in the pocket, holds onto the ball for approximately 15 seconds, and then throws the worst pick you've ever seen. Like, he is horrible to watch football. If he didn't have a Manning as a last name, he would never have gotten a D1 offer, let alone Texas.
What I'm most mad about, though, is we're fucking restarting the clock on Billy Napier. That's what I'm most mad about in this. Billy Napier should have been fired last year, and the Billy Napier cycle continues. His buyout's too big, so you have to give him a little run before he, gets fired. Then he will rattle off 3 wins against teams he shouldn't beat. You're sitting here like, oh, Billy Napier got us to 7-5. He earned another year. And you're like, that's not the standard of Florida. But I digress. Arch Manning, bad at football. DJ Lagway, slightly better at football, but not by a lot.
Yeah, the Texas defense letting DJ Lagway do that to them is very funny. Like, it was an all around pants pooping from Texas. I think the Napier clock, the clock on him getting fired, is funny because it's just funny to see every year, like clockwork, just, oh, Napier's gonna get fired, and then it's like, oh, there's no way old Billy's gonna wriggle his way out of this jam. Then look at that, Billy's wriggled his way out of the jam. I'm looking at the Florida schedule. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if Billy can wriggle his way out of this jam. I think this might be the final jam for him. He's got this weekend going to number 5 Texas A&M, which is a fake ranking. They're not the 5th best team in the nation. They don't have an offense. They get Mississippi State at home as a gimme. Then they got Georgia and Jacksonville. They get Kentucky on the road as a gimme. Then they go to Ole Miss, home against Tennessee. and then Florida State to end the year. That is a, like you said, that is a gauntlet. But
I'm saying,
we
like,
gotta-
if Napier gets to 6 or 7 wins there, I think, like, they're gonna give him his job back. Like,
well, okay, if he gets 6, right, it depends on who he gets it against, because I'm assuming you're assuming wins against Mississippi State and Kentucky, who are the bottom feeders of the conference,
which
right?
like they still, like, Mississippi State finished, like, they finished undefeated in non-conference play. Like, they could still give them a run for their money with how Florida's looked.
They got trashed by Texas A&M this weekend.
Yeah, it was not a great showing for them.
I'm gonna say that you assume they get those two. I think it depends on who your 6 is against. If it's one of A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, like, all right, maybe. Florida State, I think, is borderline. But if you get, I'll be honest, if you get 7 here, yeah, he kind of might get another year. He might do it.
He might get out of it again, but
He might get out of the jam, man. Also, just real quick, Sark, we got to start questioning him as a quarterback developer now that, like, RPO slop ball is out of like the hot new thing, right? Arch just looks terrible. Quinn Ewers never looked that great, but he looks like a saint compared to Arch. Like, this was a hater's delight game for me personally. I just want to share that hate with all of you guys.
yeah, I mean, it was a hater's delight. But when we get to the next one, that sent everyone into a tizzy.
So, yeah, it's time. Let's talk about it.
It's Nico was not paid enough money.
I mean, you know about this score. You've probably already been laughing about it for 3 days. What were they ranked before this year? Number 6 Penn State, 5.
Were they? Are you talking about like going into this week?
Sorry, they were number 7.
Yeah,
right?
I think they were 7.
So
Yeah, they were 7.
your number 2 preseason ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. Number 7 at the time ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. Lose to 0-4 UCLA on the road in a maybe generously 40% full Rose Bowl. In what was, frankly, a comprehensive ass beating from UCLA. I mean, my God, this thing was awesome start to finish. Like you said, UCLA won the Nico trade just on this game alone, on this result alone. He was absolutely unreal. You know, Nico is 19 to 27, 144 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, but 13 carries for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Man, he was unconscious, and he was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, the play calling at the end was, like, really bad, like, trying to give Penn State the game. But that 4th and 1 call where they, like, did a quarterback power or whatever, and, like, the shotgun was really dumb. Like, what happened to establishing the run?
What happened to under center 4th and 3rd and 1? Like, we've said this on the show before, because Cade Bell is also,
Allergic.
of the same ilk. He thinks that going under center is woke. No, going under center is good. Shotgun 3rd and 1 is woke nonsense. Get it out of my game. I mean, this was such a funny game because what was the halftime score in this game? It was 27-7 in this game at halftime. Like, UCLA steals a possession with an onside kick. The offense is unstoppable. The Penn State offense does not do anything for an entire half. They wake up in the second half to get a block punt return. And, like you said, I understand why UCLA goes for it on 4th and 1 to try and ice the game. They don't get it. But then on that drive to go and, tie the game from Penn State, Drew Aller shows up, and in the biggest moment, what does he do? He overthrows a wide open touchdown that would have tied the game. And then Andy Kotelnicki draws up the worst fucking 4th down play you've ever seen, and Penn State blows it. And their $3.2 million defensive coordinator gives up 42 to winless UCLA. Now, that 42 number, right, is 73% of the combined score of all other UCLA points before this. UCLA had a career day on a $3 million defense. That is, God, I'm getting excited. I'm getting horny thinking about this. I'm getting horny speaking this out. This is a hater's delight. This is even better than when we beat Clemson at home and they lost to Illinois in 9 overtimes. This is so much funnier. This is the best.
Yeah, I mean, like we had our Pitt buyout gate, we'll say, on TikTok this week. But if we want to talk about a buyout, James
Oh my
Franklin
god.
is like $60 million for a buyout.
I
Like,
think it's
is it
55. Yeah, 55.
55?
It's in that range. Yeah.
But like, it's just that's something that like essentially to get rid of that, you need a donor to just drop a $60 million check on someone's desk in that office, and then someone pay for the new coach. But I mean, you can't fire him. But like, Penn State fans have been calling for his head for a couple of years. And this, like, there's a tweet, and it was like, James Franklin was mad that we were telling him he couldn't win the big one, so he lost the bad one too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he just, it's so bad, and like to be yelled at by Penn State fans after losing to West Virginia and like losing to Louisville, which like rightfully should. So, Penn State hasn't won a Power 4 game, all
We
year.
have.
So, pretty rough.
I mean, it's we kind of did this last week when they lost to Oregon, right? We're like, hey, he can't win the big one. I'm of the mindset, like his record against top 10 teams is proof that he doesn't have the goods, because when he goes against teams of equal or like better talent than him, like he's always on the losing end. So there's something like in him, in his soul, that he's a loser. And then he drops this piece of shit, and you're just like, he doesn't have it. Like, how do you not have your team ready to play 0-4 UCLA? You give up Nico's career day, and now looking at this Penn State schedule, their defense is complete food because they can't stop a terrible UCLA team. Nico is the best player on the team by far. No one else really fucking matters. And I don't see this as anything better than 8-4 at the very best. You've got a road trip to Ohio State and then home for top 10 Indiana, and those are just the games I think you're set to lose. I don't know if you're going to get Iowa or Michigan State springing another upset on this team, but I don't think they're a playoff team. And that's the whole thing with Franklin is he doesn't win the big one, but he'll get you the playoff every year. What's the calculus with Franklin now that he might not get you to the playoff, or he might not be able to win the regular season games now? Like that's where, like, I'm already saying you should fire Franklin because you can do better with all the money you have behind this program, and you could do better than losing to UCLA on the road to give it a win to an offensive coordinator who is called a fantastic game, but never called plays before this. He didn't know how to use a headset, and he looks like Draco Malfoy. and that's who you just lost to. Like, you can't get much worse than that. You probably got this interim coach hired at UCLA. That's how bad you guys lost. Now the other part of this is that you go ahead and look at UCLA's schedule down the stretch here. The funniest part of this is that UCLA is live to go 1-11. Their only win being over top 10 Penn State at the time. That would be the icing on the cake here. I mean, you know what? They have October, Nebraska, and Michigan State on the schedule, so I'll walk that back. They can win some games, but that would be really funny, man.
I mean, like, what record gets Franklin fired? Because, like,
I would say Franklin has to. Okay, so one, the buyout number is
not possibly bought out.
Not possible, like you said. Like, this is a number even worse than ours, right? And the ADs that gave those Franklin like those yearly extensions and raises. Oh man, those Penn State fans got to be cursing them out because he used all those openings to get him those massive raises, those massive extensions. That's why his buyout's so high, right? I think that if we're taking that into account, you probably need Franklin at minimum to have like multiple playoff missing seasons and then probably a sub 500 record in there. And that's just for enough people to get on board with, we got to bite the bullet on this buyout. Like, you have to have some real stinkers in there. Like, because, the whole mindset, because like they're going back and forth on it. Like, I see these arguments too. It's like, who are you going to get that's better? It's like, roll the dice on anybody because this guy doesn't have it. That's my stance. But a lot of people are like, he gets us 10 wins every year. Who are we gonna get that's better than him? Roll the dice, man. I don't know.
I think when your expectations are that high in your Penn State and your roster is what it is, like rumor has like this is the most money. Like, I mean, Ohio State had a really expensive roster, but like people are like, this is one of the most expensive teams of all time. You don't bring back Pabula to go with Aller, which like I've been talking to people. Like I have a couple Penn State fans. Like you couldn't bring him back and like go against Aller, especially like when he had to leave him in the playoff. Like you could not ask Aller like to encourage him to transfer there. But it's looking like it might have been the better decision. But I understand why they didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a bad evaluation.
Yeah,
it's just a bad evaluation. Drew Aller in the prime time, even though he had a good game, with his legs. Like I think that Drew Aller throughout the day, like he didn't play that well as a passer. He had 19 for 27, 2 touchdowns and 189. But he did all his damage in the second half in that comeback just running because UCLA wasn't accounting for him as a runner. He didn't do it as a passer. He's not a very good quarterback. When he's not playing FCS level teams, he stinks.
Even against the FCS like level teams, like I still think he's brain dead. Like I don't know. We talk a lot about like Eli making some dumb reads, but like I don't know. Like I hate to like go on against Al, even though like I love to hate on Penn State because like I don't think he's necessarily a bad guy. I think a lot of the hate for Aller comes from like the media pushing him as like QB1 in the draft.
Yeah, and he doesn't like he's liable for like 1 or 2 bad reads a game. But the thing with Aller with me is that he is, when it comes to make the big throws, that's when he pulls out the bad ones, right? Like he had only I think 8 misses in this game, but they were all consequential, and he's always overthrowing guys too. He's always sailing it high. Like I just don't think he has it. I just don't think he has it. And I think a lot of it is like, oh yeah, this guy's QB1. If I were drafting today, I'd probably take, I don't know, Dante Moore, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a bad QB year.
Yeah, I think like this quarterback class, like a lot of people I've talked to are like, yeah, this quarterback's generational. And being a Steelers fan, everyone wants to find like they're trying to find Aaron Rodgers' replacement, but like Nussmeier hasn't been like awesome. Klubnik,
Nussmeier sucks.
I think so too. But like Klubnik has like bozo brain, Aller bozo brain, but like has the tools that like an NFL GM will like fall in love with. Sellers like everyone's like high on him as like the dual threat quarterback for this year. I mean we'll have to see what he does. John Mateer, people are like overrating now as well. I think like Carson Beck like might have looked like the best quarterback, like collegiate stat wise.
And Carson Beck doesn't have a UCL. That's something I forgot to say. Like, go back and watch that Miami game. His deep balls, while they're accurate, they have no zip on them. They stay in the air for so long. Like if he wants to go pro, the first loss, if Miami suffers a loss, right? What Carson Beck should do is immediately say, I'm done. I'm getting Tommy John surgery. I'll see you at the draft. Because he needs it. He doesn't have enough zip on his balls. I mean, I guess like if you're talking like who's gonna be the best QB, like I'll be honest, you take Dante Moore if he comes out, you take Mensa out of Duke, or you wait a year and you get Sayin from Ohio State. But that's enough shieldy talk. This is a college football podcast. Back to Penn State because I'm not done dancing on their graves yet. This question was brought up by fellow Pittsburgh local on Blue Sky, Alex Kirshner. Is this the worst loss since 13-9 in 2007?
I think depending on how the rest of the season goes for Penn State, like if Penn State is 10-2, this loss should keep you out of the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And if that does, in fact, keep them out of the playoff, then I think that makes it the worst loss of all time. Especially if UCLA finishes 1-11 and this loss keeps them out of the playoffs. I think it's on the level of 13-9. But if Penn State's 8-4, then it's like, I guess is it the precursor to what causes the 8-4 season? Like, yeah, that would be like if they fall apart after, then it might be the worst loss.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? It's narrative wise, right? Because 13-9, obviously, it derails your program's best shot they've ever had at a natty, best shot you'll ever have, and then you had to beat your 4-7 rival, right? You're a 20-point underdog. Your coach leaves right after, and then you go into a slump for like, you're not the same program ever since then. With this, I don't know if we're going to see a slump like that, right? But if we're talking championship narrative, this game has totally dispelled any idea. I think if you're taking this season seriously, like Penn State is a college football playoff team. Their defense is terrible. Their offense always fucks it up in the worst moments, right? Like it is on that level of 13-9 of 10 years later for another 4-7 Pitt team beating a number 2 Miami team. Like it's one of those. It's one of those losses. Like I think it's gonna be. It's when we look back on it, it's gonna be one that we remember like for a long time. You think about last year's Vanderbilt loss for Bama too. Like it's up in. It's up there. I think it's with Stanford over USC and Michigan App State in 2007 as well. Like it's in the pantheon of bad losses. So with that, anything else to dunk on Penn State fans with anything else?
Not a ton. I mean, I think it's karma that like, you have like your big three of teams for like the surrounding Pittsburgh area: Penn State, Pitt, and West Virginia. You talk about before the season, like Penn State, this is gonna be natty. Pitt teams are like, oh, we're gonna be really good. Like it's kind of just karma. We might just all be like the Spider-Man meme, but like West Virginia's lower. Like we might all just not be like amazing teams, and you know what? That's okay.
I do think it's like their 3-2 is very different from our 3-2. We've got good hope for 3-2. They're in hell, which is all Penn State fans go to hell, but they don't teach you that. They don't teach you that orientation. They let you figure that out later in life. With that being said, let's go. And I honestly have not looked at the schedule for this week because actually no, this is a good one. This is a good one.
We have a great Christmas day of Christmas game of the week. But
okay. So I'm just gonna go run through the schedule. Basically, you tell. I'm gonna as always, any games that catch my eye, I'm gonna shout out. When we get to the Christmas night game of the week, stop me in my tracks, please. Starting off with honestly kind of a heater on Friday night. You got South Florida, North Texas, both undefeated in the American. South Florida just entered the AP poll. That one's going to be, I think, big for the Group 5 race for the college football playoff. That's the best of your weeknight games. The CUSA games on Thursday don't really interest me. East Carolina Tulane could be good, 7:30 on Thursday, but I mean it's on. If you don't want to watch NFL, right? But moving into Saturday, you got Ohio State going to Illinois. I have no interest in this one, 12 o'clock on Fox, because it's going to be the same thing that Ohio State's done to every team this season, which is they're going to score like 30 to 40 points and suffocate the entire opposing team with their defense. No thanks. I do have interest, though. Obviously, if I get a second screen up, Pitt, Florida State on ESPN. We've got Alabama, Missouri on ABC. This is big for the SEC title race, and this is one where I would like to see Mizzou win because I think that Mizzou would be the most interesting team to me for them to go out and win the SEC. They have a ton of like flip games down the stretch, but like we've sort of been hinting at, right? Bo Prabula has been very good operating their offense after he transferred out from Penn State to Mizzou. The Bama defense, while they had a bounce back game against Vandy, Mizzou is a similarly talented team. So this is one I would like. Like this is my second string game for the Pitt game at the same time, right? Getting nods there.
Yeah, I was trying to see. There's not another game in that slot that I really care about.
No. UCLA, Michigan State. No interest. I'm UCLA. You've been on my screen enough for one season. After this, we'll just remember the good times with you, buddy. 3:30 though. I think this is your Christmas matchup, right? Indiana, Oregon, 3:30 on CBS. Wow, this is gonna be a good fucking game, man. This is gonna be a good fucking game.
Fernando Mendoza, like, this is the game that he cements himself as quarterback one in next year's class. I mean, you've had a lot of Mendoza talk. I mean, we watched him play last year against Pitt. Didn't look incredible against Pitt.
I thought he looked really good, honestly.
I
I
mean,
thought he looked really good in that game. He kept them in that game. Obviously, they were down early. He almost brought him back. I was like, from that point on, I know he didn't look great in that game. I've been a believer in him since I saw him play live. Sorry, you're up.
no, but I think like this is the game that he looks amazing. Like I think that he's gonna like. I think they beat Oregon, and I think that this is the game that like people are like Mendoza QB1 in this class, like book it.
I'm putting like generational game. Like I think this is going to be a not only like this is gonna be an as advertised top 10 matchup. I think these offenses are both fantastic. These defenses are both good. Like, see, that's my thing. Is I don't know what to think about either of these teams' defenses. I think they're both great defenses and both can get stops and both can make explosive like turnover plays. But I think this is really like an as advertised fireworks points game where it's exciting from fucking whistle to whistle.
No, I'm in total agreement. What do you think of this is kind of off track and we're already at an hour, but like that quarter or that running back from Oregon who was the transfer from Tulane who now isn't even traveling with the team after being like a running back prospect in most draft talks. What's his name? I'm pulling it up.
What's his name? Mekhi Hughes?
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that this is what, like, I don't know. For a while, obviously, we've seen a lot of power conference teams bring up these like group of 5 all-stars and FCS all-stars and then not really play at all because they're getting money, but they're not getting the same amount of exposure. Like, to me, I know that kids are like, listen, get all the money you can from football. But if you're like good enough to be a draft prospect, you probably just want to, like, if you're not guaranteed a starting spot, stay at that lower level school, man. You're gonna get much more exposure. You're gonna get a lot more film on you, and like when you're transferring up to a school like Oregon, you're not the only guy. Like as they show, they have 3 other guys who are just as good as you, and I believe he's redshirting it and transferring out just to like get some tape on him, and that's the whole thing. Like that's the whole thing, right? You're a fantastic group of 5 player. There are 100 of you at the Power 5 level. And in Oregon, there are multiple of you on the same roster. It's the worst case scenario for a guy transferring up, and I think that more star G5 players should take that into account.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
1,400 yards the last 2 years. Like, I think if he put up another season similar, he would have got drafted out of Tulane, and it would have been fine.
Yes, and like we saw this same thing with Solomon DeShields, right? He leaves Pitt to go to Texas A&M. And he was a backup. He didn't see the field. He was a 3rd string linebacker. Like this happens quite a lot. You know, when you're a good player, going to the big school is not always, especially as a transfer late, right? When you're not guaranteed a starting spot, and when like if it's a competition there, it's not always the best thing for your development. So that is an interesting like argument though. It's like there's that where it's like you're probably gonna have less opportunities to play, but also football's a rough game. If you can get paid for it, get paid for it. You know, it's a very interesting thing to balance the pros and cons of. In this game, though, give me Oregon. I'm just gonna make it interesting. I think that Oregon. I love Dante Moore. I think that have they announced their uniform for this game yet?
I haven't seen anything
because that would actually affect my pick. Because I liked their uniforms against Penn State. I think what they did with the numbers is cool. I don't like it when they don't have a lot of green on them. So if there's some like sort of like black and white bullshit, give me Indiana. But if they're like all green, like that retro, nice bright green, give me Oregon.
This is actually like a beautiful week. That makes sense. I agree. But also like this weekend is like has really good games. Like I don't know if I'll get off the couch on Saturday. Fall break vibes at Pitt. I don't think I'm leaving the couch.
Man, this is a good one. Yeah, I mean just in this window alone, Oklahoma, Texas. Obviously, a lot of the shines come off that game, but it is a rivalry game. It's always a cool stadium to go see on ABC 3:30. even like Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech on ACC Network, like is interesting. Like Virginia Tech's kind of bouncing back after the coach got fired. Actually, no, they lost last week, but Georgia Tech was playing with fire against Wake Forest a couple weeks ago. NC State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't really have a defense. All NC State has not as an offense. I don't think they're going to pull it off, but hey, maybe.
We're already starting to bullshit with Notre Dame. A 3-2 team at this point in the year should not be ranked as the 16th best team in the country.
Yeah, at least the voters had the dignity to drop Penn State and Texas out of the rankings. That we got one win with that. I'll let Notre Dame slide for a week. Iowa State, Colorado, also 3:30. Like that's another interesting game in the Big 12 because I don't trust Iowa State to win it, even if Colorado's quarterback is a gigantic moron. Caden Salter.
Yeah,
we just love to lose games. I mean, even like also like you can kind of like thumb around here if none of those games are good. Probably going to be a close game with Nebraska, Maryland, TCU, Kansas State. Like, they don't jump off the screen. You maybe Arkansas, Tennessee. This is a slate to keep an eye on what is close, right? When you move to the evening, you've got Florida at Texas A&M. We mentioned earlier, Florida might have some juice again. Old Billy might get out of the jam. I don't believe in Texas A&M at all. And Florida has a pretty good defense, so I could see them kind of mucking it up for Reed, who I don't think is a very good quarterback at all. But A&M also has a very good defense through 5 weeks. Kansas, Texas Tech at 7:30 on Fox. Texas Tech, honestly, if we're talking about Big 12, that might be your favorite at this point. If they like hold Kansas and they don't like fuck around with them, I'd say pretty clearly that's like your Big 12 title and playoff spot favorite right there.
I think it has to be at this point.
I think it has to be them, yeah. Also, we got a couple of big helmet games here. Georgia Auburn on ABC at 7:30. Michigan USC on NBC at 7:30. Straight up just helmet games. Am I going to watch them? You bet your ass I'm going to watch them. Those are some pretty stadiums. Those are some pretty colors. And I will be sitting on my couch and be like, oh, I like the USC red helmet. Oh, Michigan. Wolverine stripes, yeah. Just totally oblivious to the world around me. South Carolina, LSU, do anything for you? I think I would like South Carolina to win that game. I'd like to get LSU out of here. I don't think they're good at all. I
think they're frauds. Like I think Nussmeier is like that Clemson game looked bad and Clemson doesn't look amazing. I don't know. I just think I think they're overrated. I think we've talked about it before. Like the SEC and the AP poll is like just a bunch of ACC or SEC schools between 5 and 14, and it's like they'll figure it out.
It's comical because like you look at those teams like. What is this? Before we talk about the AP poll, real quick, shout out Arizona State, Utah. Could be a good game. That's your late night game. Okay. Anyway, to the AP poll, right? Like you said, between 4 and 14. Is Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Bama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, and Missouri. A&M hasn't beaten anybody. Bama, okay, they might be good, right? But, we'll see against Mizzou. Georgia, I think, is extremely fraudulent because, they've beaten nobody and they blew it against Bama. They look bad against Bama. LSU, frauds. Tennessee, fake offense, frauds. Mizzou, I root for Mizzou because they're an interesting team to win the conference. I'd like to see them win it. But yeah, this is just a bunch of SEC teams. They're just like, yeah, they're good. They're SEC. It's the same shit every year. We complain about this shit every year. It'll never stop. Eat Arby's. I don't know, man. That's all I got. I mean, listen, this is the haters' delight. This has been the most fun weekend of the year so far for Pitt fans. And it's gearing up to be a pretty good week. It'll be week 7, right? It'll be week 7. Yeah, week 7 for everybody else. So, got anything else?
I mean, we were out. I'm pretty back in. I mean, it would like I'm actually excited to watch Pitt. Like I think that they like my opinion on the team has changed. Yes. Do I think they're magically going to run the table? No. But I think what Mason does is like putting him in there. I think it gives you something to rally behind. I think as a fan base and as a football team. So I think this is a very well and exciting thing that happened to us. We deserve it. Pitt fans, been a rough couple weeks, comes in waves, but I think we're about to start riding a high. So give me Pitt 31-24 next week.
I don't make score prediction on this show. They always go poorly for me.
Well,
just no, just for me. You can do whatever you want. For me, like you said, it's like this is something to rally around. At this point, you're gambling with house money. You've got a freshman quarterback. Listen, if he's good, you've got the next awesome guy in your program. If he sucks, he's your little special freshman boy, and he can't do anything wrong because he's just a freshman. He's actually taking a lot of time to get adjusted to the college game. There is no losing with the narrative here. If you win, it's the best. If you lose, oh well, it's a freshman quarterback. He's going to have growing pains. It's house money from here on out, baby. And that is much better than going into every week, full of dread that, Eli's going to fuck it up somehow. With that being said, my name is Zach Kaminsky. Thank you for listening to Simplified Podcast. If you liked us, follow us on Twitter at SimplifiedPod. If you like the show, please give us 5 stars in your podcast listening app of choice, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell them to listen to our show and ours alone. With that, we will see you next week.